So if you're new to the community, what do I mean by using leverage? Right now, I have $25,136 cash in my brokerage account. But if you look at my funds and you look at these current values of each of these funds, it's way more than $25,000. It's actually $39,133. Now, why is that? Because I'm using about $14,000 of margin or leverage from Fidelity. They let you borrow against your cash value. And there's a portion of you that think using this much margin is just crazy, but then there's another portion of y'all that think I'm not using enough. So I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm doing what's comfortable for me. And for me, I am in no way scared to use as much margin as I want to reach my goals. And for another example, if we look at a screenshot of May of last year, this is before I had margin enabled. See, I had about $2,300 in AMSI, $525 cash of buying power. But I really wanted to up my position in AMSI, but I didn't want to use my money. So I said, the heck with it. I got a personal loan of $6,500. It was 60 months, about 10%, $140 a month. I put that $6,500 loan into AMSI, and then I used $5,500 of margin to buy even more AMSI. So I used leverage on leverage. And then by October of last year, so what? 5 months of having this loan, I paid it off. You know, Misty was $20 or just under $20 in September sometime. Maybe it was late August. I put a big chunk in Misty with my average cost. I remember $20.24. I also had a play in Coney, and when those things pumped, I was able to get some nice dividends. I remember an $800 or $900 dividend from Misty, but I was able to profit rip Misty of $4,300 and do some profit ripping on Coney, which allowed me to pay this off really early. And so let's talk a little bit about profit ripping. Misty is the only position in my portfolio where it's volatile enough to do some profit ripping. But if you look at January of 2025, the month that we're in now, I received the dividend of $241. I think that was with 106 shares, but I ripped $300 off the top for profit, and I sacrificed about 9.5 shares, or about $21 in dividends. So 300 versus 21. I went ahead and took that 300, and I remember I put that into my other fund of YieldMax. I think the most common question is the tax on that profit ripping. It is not dividend income. I'm in my first rodeo. I haven't received my 1099 from Fidelity yet. It should hit next month, but it's just the profit on the short-term gains. But if you look at January 6th, when I did that $300 rip, it sold off these lots. Okay, right here you can see the cost basis of each of those buys and then the proceeds per share. And you can see right here, those are the proceeds. So about $7. I'm going to get taxed whatever percentage that is of the $7. At least that's how I'm understanding it. But if we take a look up here, it looks like I did rip $600. Well, not actually. The other 300 came when I wanted to liquidate this 10.029 shares of Misty that were just too high because I want to lower my average cost of Misty. So you can see my average cost for those 10 shares right here was $30.62, and then this small little tiny lot was at $30.69. Now, Misty pumped, on January 15th into the $30.70 range. So I went to sell these 10 shares, and luckily I broke even with that little mini lot there. So I took that $300 away, or those 10 shares away, which in return lowered my average cost, and I would add those back in once Misty went below my average cost. And I think it went down below my average cost the next day. So I deployed that $300 back into Misty when it fell down the next day, and thus did a form of core number compounding. That 10.029 shares, I don't know the exact number, but maybe I was able to get 11 shares now. The same money, $300. All right, let me jump back to margin. This is how I personally internalize my cash versus my margin. You've heard me say that my Roundhill funds, the QDTE and the XDTE, are my core funds. And so if you add up these dollars amount, they come to $22,624. So technically, I do own those because my account balance is a little bit over 25. So if we take the change, I can say that I own almost all of my Misty positions. So all these other positions, I really don't technically own them. I'll give them back. They're really not mine. The YieldMax, the Tesla, the Coney, and the NVIDIA, right? If I come close to a margin call, which I'm very far away from, $10,000 buffer, I'm just going to use it. I'm using margin to my advantage to capture these dividends, but they are not mine. The only two that really are mine are those Roundhill positions of the Q and the X, and most of my Misty position. Or I could own all the Coney position. It's just a matter of how you think. So anyway, that's just my general thought on my cash versus my margin holdings. All right, let's talk about my goals and NAV erosion with this income portfolio. Goal-wise, they're really simple. If you look at these numbers down here, the total percentage gain or loss of this portfolio, right now I'm at negative 3.26%. My soft goal is to be in between negative 3% and positive 3%. If I can be within that 6% range while receiving these distributions/dividends, I'll be happy. But again, I want my capital. I want all of my capital and the dividends. So if I can just get this to capital flat at 0% and a $0 gain or loss, that'll be excellent. And then the third goal, if I can just see some sort of capital appreciation, somewhere up to 2 to 3% of capital appreciation while receiving these dividends. Now, I got a taste of that with my Roundhill funds until that PAL speech December 16th of last month. So my goal is to get back to that first and foremost with those Roundhill funds. So, it's going to take some time. And again, it's up to the market. But while my price is below my average cost, I need to keep buying as much as I can to kind of help make those positions whole again. But again, that's the challenge of not only the Roundhill funds, really a challenge with these YieldMax funds. And if you take a look at Misty, a lot of people, have total capital appreciation because it's when you get into these funds. For example, last month, if you bought in a big chunk on Misty at $43, you're hating life right now. But if you're like me and you still hold it, I sold out my position, and you have a $20 average cost, and you're at 29 and you've been through the ride up to $45, you're good to go. You have not seen any NAV loss in Misty. So it's just a matter with these YieldMax funds of when you buy in. With my Coney position, I bought in at $15. I thought, that's a pretty decent starting point. Now it's in about $13.90. Yesterday, I bought into Tesla. My starting price with Tesla now is about $13.50. Hopefully that's a good entry point, but we'll see because these YieldMax funds can be unpredictable, especially the funds that follow a single stock, that being Tesla, NVIDIA, Coinbase, and MicroStrategies. And so all I'm doing is I'm just trying to use my common sense. I'm not going to buy above my average cost. But right now, with my whole portfolio down about 3%, everything I buy into, except for NVIDIA, is going to lower my average cost. And then one more last thought on margin. If you look at this screenshot, this is from yesterday. You look up here, this BP, it means buying power of $17,061. Fidelity says I might have that much, but my margin buffer in reality is about $10,000. So if I were to unknowingly purchase $12,000 of a fund, it put me into a margin call. So you need to know how your brokerage breaks down the percentage requirements for margin. Everything's 30% margin requirement except for Misty. And so there's probably a process of how to stack these or buy into them. But these are my long-term holds. I'm not going to sell off and then buy back in. But make sure you understand your buying power versus your margin buffer. So again, it says my buying power is $17,000. Well, it's actually wrong. I have about $10,000 of buying power, meaning if my account drops to $15,000, I'm going to get a margin call. And again, that margin call, I'd probably sell off some Tesla and some Coney or some YieldMax to meet that margin call requirement. But I'm definitely, again, my long-term goal is to hold on to those two Roundhill funds, the Q and the X. Folks, thanks for watching. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.